good, everybody? Today we're going to be looking at a bunch of free plugins, and I'm going to show you how I'm using them on this lo-fi hip-hop beat. And I'm going to link all these plugins in the description so you can just grab them. Here is the beat. And let's start up here with the drums. The first plugin I want to show you is called Destroyed by Damaged Records. Although I'm using it pretty subtly on these drums, you can get really nasty and gnarly with this thing. And no matter how distorted it gets or how hard you push it, it still sounds really pleasing to the ears. And that's hard to find. You've got your sample rate reduction right here, bit crush reduction. This is distortion. And this is just your output gain. Whenever you crank this distortion up, you're going to want to start bringing this output gain down. You'll notice that these 5 knobs are all grayed out right now. These all work with the sample rate reduction. So as long as this is all the way up and says off right here, these are inactive. And if I start turning it down at all, they pop on. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, so right here, you'll see these little red dots bouncing. That's this envelope right here, and it's fluctuating based on the audio input. So this is really cool because it's not just a stagnant setting. It's breathing and fluctuating, being triggered by whatever audio you feed into it. Okay. I can play with this thing all day, but let's move on. The second plugin I'm going to show you that I'm using on the drums is the Rough Rider 2 compressor. And this is what you'd call a character compressor, meaning you notice that it's there. It's not transparent. It's adding a lot. That's pretty cool. Yeah, basically anytime you want to get weird and you want to get rough, Rough Rider 2. Next, let's listen to the piano loop, which is pretty much the main melody of the beat. And the original loop sounded like this. Big and clear and full. And you know, sometimes big and clear and full is exactly what you want. But for this kind of beat, I want to mangle it and get a little weird. The first plugin I want to pull up is Isotope Vinyl. And out of all the little parameters and stuff, I think it does 2 things really well. And that's this wear right here. That just makes it really gritty. I think that sounds really good. And I like this warp depth. And that gives it a little bit of like pitch modulation. Makes it sound like a really old record, wobbling a little bit. This mechanical noise, I don't know why I would want that. And electric noise, I don't know why I would want that. So I'm just using the wear and the warp depth, which I think sound amazing. After that, I just put an EQ, and I'm just going to roll off a bunch of the low end. I've used this plugin before that I'm going to show you next. It's the A1 Stereo Control by Alex Hilton. And I'm only using this one knob. This is 100% right here. This is not affecting the sound at all. And if I pull it all the way down, it goes to complete mono. I like it right around in here at about 30%. This is just a really simple vibrato plugin. Man, it's tiny. And it's by Audec, I think. Yeah, right here, AUDEC. All these links are in the description anyway. I'm just barely using this to sort of emulate a cassette tape, like the kind of wow flutter thing. And if you'll notice, my depth on this vibrato is only at 0.9%. Because if I crank it up, it becomes not musical really fast. Basically, how I use this thing is I'll turn the depth up a little too much so I can hear the speed. And like, even right here, that's so fast that you can't even really hear it. It sounds like noise. So the range from the rate really just goes from like here to here. And then the depth at 11% is already super deep. So you got to be real gentle with this. Next, I want to bring up this Spaceship delay, and this is just like a psychedelic dub reggae delay station all in one. I can't say enough about this. You have your general output mix. It has different modes like ping pong. There's your normal feedback. You can sync it to your host BPM. Then there's a whole separate filter section. There's a modeling section. I have it on hard clip right now. And then right here is the modulation, and it has like kind of LFOs and rates. If you listen, you hear the filter closing. This thing is super, super dope. And then last but not least, this is Frequency Shifter by Full Bucket. This is doing some stereo enhancement, and it's kind of taking this little collapsed mono thing we've made, and it's moving it around a little bit, and it sounds really cool. So this is what the piano sounds like. Next, we have this lead xylophone, and the instrument I started out with this is actually free too, this E-Xylo. The first plugin is a multi-band multi-effects unit by HY. It's split into 3 bands. You've got your high band, your treble, your mid band mid-range, and then over here your low band low range. And it's got just your basic effects like ping pong delay and reverb and chorus, flange, phaser. And what's really cool about this is you can just apply different effects to different frequency ranges of the sound. And the reason I'm using it on this xylophone has a really nice trebly bite to it at the beginning of the note. And sometimes when you add things like chorus or phaser, you kill that bite a little bit. And with this multi-band, multi-effects thing, I was able to put chorus just on the mid-range. So right here on mid-band, it says chorus. And on high band, on the treble, I just put a little bit of reverb. So now I still have that really nice attack of the xylophone, and it still sounds chorusy, but it's not dampening the brightness of it. After that, this is a really simple reverse delay plugin. This is GVST, and you can hear the sort of backwards effect sound. And then this is the best damn free reverb you're going to get right here. Oh, Real River. I don't want to spend too long going over it, but you've got your separate dry knob and your wet knob. You have an EQ to where you can roll off lows or highs. You have a separate volume for the reverb, and then a separate volume for the early reflections, which is what happens right at the very beginning of it. And you also have 12 variations of early reflection, and then you also have 5 variations of this reverb. You can get really big, lush, full, professional sounding reverbs out of this thing. But on this song, I'm using its little modulation section right here, and you can actually mangle it a little bit, which works for this beat. So here's what the xylophone sounds like without the plugins. And here's everything. Next, I have a vibraphone, And this is made by the same guy that made the xylophone, Alan Vista. I didn't do a whole lot to this one. I added the Spaceship delay, and without the Spaceship delay, it sounds like this. And then with the Spaceship delay, it sounds like this. Pretty subtle, but it really ties the whole beat together. This is Pastoral Light, and it's just a free little rompler that has an oscillator and a sub. And it has a bunch of different presets. I'm actually going to turn off the oscillator and the sub, and the only thing I'm using on this is the vinyl noise, the film grain noise, and then right here where it says Kids and River. Basically, you have 4 different types of ambience that you can mix together. And if you press a note, let's just crank all these up a little bit. Oh, and you want to make sure the sustain is up all the way on the vinyl and film grain so they'll just last forever, or last however long you want them to last. Here's what the Pastoral Light sounds like in my beat. Just makes a really good ambience for the whole track. And that's about it. Thank you guys very much. All the links for the plugins are in the description. Get those. Go nuts. Peace.